Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am Associate Channel 5919, and today we are reading Dragon Time, Rise of the Dragon Riders, Chapter 3. The thick, low-hanging clouds that hung over Barcroft the last few days finally seemed to be clearing as Cora tugged along patches of blue sky and the fingers of golden sunlight broke through the gray ceiling. Cora sighed, letting the sunshine and the crisp mountain air soothe away the fire of her temper. Stoked by the anger she still felt over Diet's mistreatment of her father and Varen's unwillingness to fight back. On the one hand, she understood it. Varen was merely a blacksmith with no real power over anything, save for the materials he manipulated in the forge. Up against a man like Captain Daggett, he had no legs to stand upon. On the other hand, Cora couldn't understand how anyone could be content with just keeping their head down. Yet that seemed to be the mindset of everyone and mindset of every villager in Barcroft. Keep it to yourself. Don't lend a hand. Don't stick your neck out for others. She had seen it firsthand in the square today. Nico's death was a horrible tragedy. And in the moments before Captain Daggett's arrival, Cora had seen compassion in the eyes of her neighbors. But the moment Daggett showed up, the entire village calmed down, tucked their chins, and fled. Fled to their homes, leaving poor Clara Barrett to tend to Nico alone. Sorry, I had to take a drink and grab a drink. Now, where were we? Yes. There was no sense of unity, no thread of community among the villagers of Barcroft. Old traditions used to amplify community, strong community, everyone coming together to celebrate or mourn or make plans for a strong future. A few traditions that remained were now practiced almost in secret, each family honoring the old ways behind tightly shut doors, letting no one else in. And for Cora, that reality was unbearable. "There's another way," she said aloud, and another time things had been different before King Onyx had come to rule, before the Malachos had come to Tanagard. There had been an entire way of life far spoken of it often. The world that Nana Livy had painted in her stories seemed simpler, better, as Cora headed further in the countryside and up into the Thermon Mountains. Her heart ached before the Tenagard, she had never known the old Tenagard, the one from the stories, struggling to keep her emotions from crushing her. Cora stumbled, catching her hand on the rough ground. Ouch! Shaking her hand out, she shook her head to clear her mind so she could concentrate on her steps to avoid slipping again. The mountain path she had traveled many times before still required her to focus and vigilance. One foot after another, she headed higher into the mountains, where the paths were less straight and narrow. The mountains could be very dangerous, as evidenced by Nico's death, but Cora had been climbing to these peaks since she was a child, and she knew them well. As long as she kept her eyes and her ears open and didn't allow her thoughts to distract her again, she would be fine. She moved quickly, setting a brisk pace. It wasn't long before she made it to her destination, her secret special spot, just beyond a large rock, outcropping, almost invisible. Invisible to the naked eye, with a winding tunnel carved into the side of the mountain. The tunnel wasn't long, but Cora liked to think of it as a portal to another world. And every time she stepped into that cavern, at the end of the tunnel, it took her breath away. The cave was roughly the size of a town square, large enough to hold the entire population of Barcroft if necessary. However, as far as Cora knew, her family were the only ones to know of the cave's existence. Nana Livy had been the one to show the cave to her back when she was a child. And as Cora breathed in the damp cavern air, she couldn't help but smile. The smile that lifted her cheeks. Lifting her arms so high, she let out a quiet laugh. This was her favorite spot in the entire world. The ceiling of the cave sparkled even in the dim lighting as thousands of naturally formed crystals clung to the clay roof. It was like standing under a velvet sky on the night filled with stars. Yet not even the sun could diminish the light from the crystals. They had a slightly luminescent quality to them, a sheen that almost made them glow. Over the years, Cora had spent hours on her back watching the crystals twinkle and shine. Nana Livy had been especially drawn to the crystals as well. She had even worn one around her neck as a pendant, along with a small piece of the emerald green dragon scale. She once told Cora that the dragon scale pendant had been a gift from a dragon to her great-grandfather, passed down to her by her mother. She had passed Cora, but when she had passed, Cora couldn't bear to see Nana Livy buried without it. Still, the crystals in the cave gave Cora a great deal of comfort. They had always been something Nana, Livy, and Cora could marvel over together, and Cora never grew tired of their beauty. Cora's favorite part of the cave, however, wasn't the ceiling. It was the walls. The smooth, dark brown walls were covered in colorful paintings and carvings. Hundreds of images and pictographs seemed to take up every inch of the place, from the floor of the cave all the way to its twinkling ceiling. The pictures of all sizes and shapes heavily featured watercolor elements. Sorry about that. Now, where were we? The pictures of all sizes and shapes heavily featured one common element: dragons, and more specifically, the humans who used it to bond with them. According to Nana Livy, there was a time when dragons and humans had lived together in harmony. When magic bonds had formed between the two species, allowing them to share their strengths and work together as elite fighting units, it had happened so long ago, before King Onyx had risen to power, that many Tenegardians believed the stories about dragon riders to be purely myth. But Nana Livy had believed the stories to be real, and she had brought them to life for Cora. Cora smiled as she remembered how animated her grandma's face got when she told the stories of old. How her eyes would brighten and her smile would widen. "Remember this, my girl," she used to always say. "There are many of the Gannets who have forgotten the truth, but we know better. It was over a century ago, but the dragon riders were real, and it was they who guarded and protected Tenegard." "How do you know so much about them, Nana Livy?" Cora asked once, and she would never forget the look of her grandmother's face when Nana Livy answered. "Because, my dear girl, our family is descended from them. The same blood that ran through the veins of Dragon Rider runs through my veins and yours." One of the best stories that Nana Livy told was about how the Dragon Riders had a gift of Dragon Tongue, a magic language that allowed them to communicate with the dragons, and that allowed the dragons in turn to share their magic. Cora had also loved the idea of being able to talk to dragons, and she imagined that the strange words etched in the walls of the cave were actually phrases of Dragon Tongue. She and Nana Livy had spent hours going over different possible pronunciations and guessings of their meanings. Over the years, the villagers would laugh at Nana Livy. Declarations that the story of the Dragon Riders were real, they dismissed her talk as nothing more than the ramblings of an old woman. While Varen had argued with her about her stories, Cora knew that he had just been pacifying his mother-in-law, that he hadn't actually believed her. But they were more than stories to Cora, and they had never been as single moment that she doubted the truth of them, nor did she ever want to. Even now, as her eyes roamed the wall, she still felt the same rush of excitement and joy she used to feel when she would come here with Nana Livy. The cave has been a secret passed down among the family, and Cora had only bathed a word of it to another soul. When Nana Livy had died a few years ago, Cora had spent a lot of time in the mountains here in the cave. At times, Cora swore that she could feel Nana Livy's spirit with her inside the painted walls. Cora liked to think of her there, smiling and still telling her stories under the crystal roof. Plopping herself down in the center of the cave, Cora pulled her knees up to her chest and tried to sort through the torrent of emotions swirling inside her. It was comforting to be in the cave, surrounded by the paintings, the crystal singing, and the memories of Nana Livy, but still her anger at Daggett, the worry for Varen, kept her from fully being relaxed. "What am I going to do?" she said aloud, her voice echoing back to her across the stone wall. "There has to be some way to help Papa. If he wouldn't let me help with this sniffing, then there has to be something else." She waited, half hoping the answer would magically appear on the stone walls. "Nana Livy, if you can hear me, I could really use your help. Give me a sign or something. I don't know what to do." The lump from earlier reformed in Cora's throat as she waited in vain for an answer that didn't come, not that she really expected it to. Her eyes landed on the caverns, a circle with a roaring dragon at its center. It was one of her favorites. There is something so incredibly powerful about it, and although Cora couldn't explain it, she felt a sense of hope from the image. It wasn't a tangible answer like she'd hoped for, but it was something. There was also a sense of longing that flooded through her, and she thought back to the conversation she had with Papa before she left. "You must learn how to tame that wild heart of yours, Cora. The wind may blow wherever it wants, but not you." This warning had came out of love. She knew, but the sentiment made the already heavy weight on Cora's chest grow even heavier. She got up and crossed the cave floor, reaching out to touch the image of the dragon. For a moment, she closed her eyes and imagined herself were a dragon, soaring through the skies, faster than the wind itself. Oh, to be that free. "The dragons are like the wind," she whispered. "No one tells them where to go or what to do. They are free." Sighing, she let her hand drop from the image. "As much as I might wish for it, I am not a dragon, nor am I free as the wind, and I never will be. Maybe Papa's right. Maybe I need to learn how to duck my head and be content. But the more she thought about it, the more the words burned like bile in the back of her throat. Well, you're going to have a well, then you're going to have to figure something else out, she said loudly, jumping a little at the echo of her words. She stayed a while longer, enjoying the refuge of her secret spot, but sooner than she would have liked, Cora left the cave and began the trek home. It would be getting dark soon, and she preferred not to travel through the mountains. Once the sun had set, the path was treacherous enough in full sunlight, and there were far more dangers that lurked in the stillness of the night that were best to be avoided at all costs. Even though Cora knew that wasn't always possible, truth be told, she loved the sky at night. With the stars twinkling down upon her, warring a bend in the path. Cora stopped suddenly when a figure emerged from the brush. Cora recognized her immediately. It was Strida, the dark-haired young woman who had spoken to Daggett on behalf of the scavengers. Strida stared, her eyes widened as though she were surprised to see anyone else on the trail. From the look on her face and a bit of red lining her eyes, Cora guessed she had come to the mountains for a bit of refuge, a place to grieve Nico in private. She immediately felt bad for interrupting that. Do you always sneak up on people like that? Strida demanded, taking a deep breath. No, I was just walking. You're the one who popped out of the brush, Cora replied, popping her hand on her hip. Are you always this jumpy? She didn't mean to sound so snarky, but her mouth often had a mind of its own. No, I'm not, Strida hurried to say. It's just, I wasn't expecting to see anyone up here right now, and her face fell. It was a hard day. Cora knew she was referring to Nico. I was in the square earlier, Cora said gently. I saw. I'm sorry about what happened to Nico. Strida lifted a shoulder and let it drop. It's a dangerous line of work, she said, giving the satchel at her waist a little pat. But I never thought we'd actually lost a member of our team, you know? He was like a brother to me. I'm so sorry, Cora repeated, unsure of what else to say. Strida sniffed once and shrugged again. I don't normally come up here by myself, but I can't stay in the house any longer. Not with Clara. She trailed off. Say, what's your name? You're kin to Van Hart, aren't you? I've actually seen you around quite a bit. I'm Cora Hart. Van Hart is my father. If you've had come into the forge, you've probably seen me there. Strida shook her head. I don't mean I've seen you in town. I mean I have seen you in town. Barcroft is small. Everyone sees everyone. But what I mean is I've seen you here in the mountains. I do come up here a lot. Yeah. But I've seen you climbing up the rocks near Grayson's Pass. I've only known a few people brave enough to scale those. What were you doing up there? Cora froze. The pass that was just a few feet beyond the entrance of the secret cave. Was it possible that she had actually seen her coming or going from one of her many trips to the cave? As far as she knew, the cave was a secret from everyone Barcroft, and she didn't bear the thought of her sanctuary becoming public knowledge. She decided to play it off. Oh, nothing, really. I just like to climb. It's a game for me to see if I can beat my height from the previous climb. So you spend a lot of time up here then. I've been coming to these mountains all my life, Cora replied. They're a second home to me, so yeah, I do come up here a fair amount. I find the air much easier to breathe up here. Shai laughed. I know what you mean. I feel the most like myself when I'm up here, she smiled. That's why I joined the scavengers. And now you get to be up here all the time. Cora finished for her. Not as much as I'd like, really. I appreciate I'm apprentice to the foyer, so I'm at the stables more than here. But it's literal and figurative breath of fresh air that when I come up here, besides the money from the scavengers going a long way in helping my family. What about you? Are you apprenticed to your father? Yes, though sometimes it doesn't feel that way. The words fell on Cora and he clapped her hands for her mouth. She hadn't meant to reveal quite so much. Oh? Strider closed, waiting for Cora to elaborate. Cora, however, didn't want to tell the truth about why she wasn't more advanced in her trade training, so she just responded with a shrug of her arm. Strider studied Cora's face for a moment, her features turning thoughtful. Well, you know, with everything that happened today, there's a vacancy on our team. We could really use someone like you. You're strong from working in the forge, and you clearly know your way around the mountains. Maybe you'd consider joining us. Cora stared at Strider, her mouth slightly ajar. Strider had offered her a job as a scale scavenger. Wait, you mean you want me to scavenge scales with you? No, I want you to sell my tunic. Strider deadpanned, then chuckled. What else do I mean? I guess I'm just surprised. I heard it's really hard to get a spot in the team. It is. There's a bunch of people who have to be vying to take up our spots for a while now. But the whole team has to agree on any new member. Our license is issued to the group as a whole. So we decide together who joins us. And between you and me, there aren't a lot of great candidates out there. Mostly Malahos, and no one wants us. Cora snorted. Oh, so I'm like your last resort, is that it? But despite her words, she wasn't offended. She didn't blame the scavengers for not wanting Malahos on their team. The Malahos were smug and arrogant. They made no effort to understand the local ways and held themselves apart from the Ganate. no doubt thinking themselves superior, better to take on the workload alone than have to work with them. Not at all, Stride countered. You're a diamond in the rough. A lucky find on my part. If you want the job, that is. I mean, honestly, I expected people in the town to start nominating themselves the second carry Nico's body in, but Daggett cleared the square before anyone could work up the nerve. Right, and even though you're still grieving the loss of your friend, you have to fill his spot quickly. We do, Stride answered. We've got a quota to fill, so what do you say? For a split second, Cora's mind flashed back to her time in the cave, her own voice echoing in her thoughts. Baby, if you can hear me, I could really use your help. Give me a sign or something. I don't know what to do. Laughter bubbled in Cora's throat as she thought of all the money she was awarded for a handful of gleaming dragon skills. Money that could pay off her father's debt. Thank you, Nana Livy, she muttered under her breath, her cheek lifting into a half smile. What was that? Miss Stride asked. Cora picked up her hand. Oh, sorry, she cleared her throat. Yes. Yes, you'll do it? I'll do it. I'll join you and the other scavengers. And that's all for chapter 3. Stay tuned for the next chapter. Please like and subscribe. See you next time. And the book's by Ava Richardson. Bye.